I have been having a ton of conversations about what's happening in new construction, and I figured it was time for a quick update. Here's the thing, builders here in Southwest Florida, they're making deals. They are moving inventory. Inventory levels are up across Southwest Florida, both new construction and resales, and the builders are definitely coming to the table with some great deals. Here's what you gotta know. First, it's important that you have your own representation. Just remember, you can definitely go in and you can buy direct from the builder, but those sales reps, they are awesome, but they work for the builder. So it's a good idea to have somebody on your side that represents you and your interests throughout the process. So if you're gonna be doing that, then don't forget, when you first go to visit a new construction community, you need to either have your realtor with you or you need to let them know and have them sign in with your realtor. They are very strict about this. They want to connect people with realtors. And side note, there is, a lot of people out there that think that you get a better deal if you go in without a realtor, and it is just not true. In fact, I would argue that having a realtor on your side is a bonus for you because we've done it. We have 5 or 6 people under contract right now with new construction. We do a lot of deals with new construction, so we know what to ask for, how to ask for it, and we've got great relationships that we can bring to you in the event that there's a great deal that comes across the table, or they're looking, sometimes a contract will fall out and they're looking for a buyer and they've got great opportunities. So don't be short-sighted on that. And most of the national builders, they have a separate fund that they pay commission out of. So just kind of know that. I hear that a lot. Like, why would I use a realtor? That's the reason. We are here to be your boots on the ground. So if you're building and you don't live here, if you're building and you do live here, we are here to be a resource for you. We've gone through it a lot. We've gone through it ourselves personally, and we have a ton of experience helping people with new construction. All right, moving on past that, you really got to understand, like if you're looking at new construction on Zillow, a lot of times that is not the accurate price. So sometimes those get loaded and they are only the base price of the home, doesn't include any of the interior selections, doesn't include all the upgrades. Sometimes it does. It depends on the builder, but you gotta know that that's not always the most accurate price. And it can be really frustrating when people review a new neighborhood online, they're doing research and it'll say, homes from the 400s. Yeah, well, the base price is 400. By the time you add the lot, you add any interior selections, maybe you add a pool and a spa, that house is no longer 400. It is well north of 400. So it's just something that you need to be aware of. And if you ever have any questions, you're looking at a property and you're wondering, is this the real price? Give us a call. Happy to answer that for you and give you the scoop on any specific property that you might find that is new construction, if you're wondering. All right, next. So we talked a little bit about lot premiums, the starting from price. So here are the places that builders might have some negotiation room when you're negotiating a contract with them. One is lot premiums. So one benefit of doing so much new construction and having so many deals is we know exactly where things are getting approved. We know what lot prices are getting approved. We have several people pending. We know for different size lots at different properties what that lot premium should be around given any time. Obviously, it is a sales organization, the new builders, they do change things, but usually there's pockets in different places where they can pull funds to make a deal come together. That's one of them. They're never going to change their base price. That's always going to be the same. And those typically just continue to go up over time. Sometimes they'll bring them back down, but the base prices stay fairly consistent. All right, the next place that you might have some opportunity and that we work when we're working with people to negotiate contracts is in interior upgrades. So depending on who you build with, Lennar builds more of a spec type home. So theirs is a little bit more, here's your price. It's all kind of bundled together. We negotiate off of that. But if you go with a Pulte or a Toll Brothers or Taylor Morrison or another company that is more of a semi-custom, then you're gonna have an amount that you're gonna finish the house. And you have to add flooring and cabinets. And sometimes people don't know that when you build from dirt, that's kind of what you have to go through. You're gonna get a total amount and they run incentives on those amounts. So that incentive is another opportunity to possibly find some negotiation room. All right, the next place that you wanna make sure that you're negotiating or whoever you're working with is negotiating on your behalf is for closing cost credits. Buying into a new community, new construction with the national builders, there are extra fees and it costs more than just buying a normal home. There are one-time startup fees. There's usually an amenities fee. The buyer covers the title costs on a new construction, whereas if it's a resale, then that's a negotiable point, and depending on county, it has some variances. So just know that you can also ask for additional closing cost credits. Usually builders are already offering these. Sometimes it's an opportunity to get a little more. Again, it just depends on what's happening in their sales organization and how hard they're pushing to get deals to come to the table. All right, next, another opportunity is if you're going to be financing is with a rate buy down. We are seeing a lot of the builders are offering very aggressive rates, different programs. Sometimes it's for 1 year, sometimes it's for the life of the loan. But again, this is another place that you can negotiate. So sometimes people don't know that what the builders do is they come in and they buy, they buy money at these rates, and then they're able to give them to buyers to get deals done, to make payments become more affordable. But there is a cost to the builder. So you just have to take that into account when you're looking at overall numbers with offers and negotiating. All right, the next thing that sometimes people don't know that you can negotiate is the deposit amount. So most builders typically want 20% of the total, but this can be negotiable. If you're getting a loan and you're only going to have 10% to put down, then this is another point that you want to talk to your realtor about or your salesperson about, is to let them know, like, hey, here's what I can do. Sometimes they'll stretch it out over time. So there are different ways to structure these deals to make them work for you. A lot of times people, because the build time can be long, if you build from dirt, if it's just beginning, you could be anywhere from 4 to 8 or 9 months, depending on the builder and how things are moving along in the area at that time. So sometimes people, they still have a property to sell, and they kind of play the game a little bit with timing because they don't have to sell for a while. So they might only have a specific amount of funds available to put down on the deposit, but they'll be able to put more down by close. So these are all conversations that we have with people when they are considering purchasing a home or building a home new construction, because there are a lot of variables and factors that ride into it. Just checking my notes here. So once we get through all that, you get everything negotiated, you have a deal, you sign your contract, right? Then depending on who your builder is, if you're with Lennar, you pretty much are done now until closing. If you're buying a spec home, same, you're pretty much done now until closing. But if you're building from dirt, at this point is when some of the fun begins. So typically within 3 to 4 weeks of signing your contract, you're gonna have your design appointment to go and pick out your interior design and customize your pool if you're doing a pool with the builder. So one tip that I definitely want to share is, if you're doing this, you definitely want to ask if they have a preview appointment available where you can go in and you can see all the selections ahead of time. It makes it a little less overwhelming when you go, because let me tell you, depending on the size of your house, you're anywhere from 3 to 4.5 hours of just pure decision making. It can be overwhelming. So it's nice to walk the models, to go to a preview appointment so that you have some ideas of what it is that you like and how you're thinking you're going to want to design your home. So that's kind of just a little side note, but it's definitely a good idea. And then last thing I'm going to talk about with new construction, I'm just kind of throwing this in with the new construction update, is you can get an inspection. And in fact, I would encourage you to get an inspection. So yes, with new construction comes warranty, different warranties for the different builders, but the reality is humans are building these houses and they are still going to make mistakes. So do you have to? No. You're going to move in and you're going to find things. And of course, you can submit warranty tickets and claims. But if you do an inspection ahead of time, that's going to give you an opportunity to flush some of that out before you move in and are living in the house. Again, the warranties vary, but usually you have kind of a 30-day cosmetic where they'll do anything cosmetic, but then anything that is legit, they have a whole warranty process. Everything will get taken care of. But if you catch it ahead of time, then you can kind of walk in and have some of that before you even move into your home. You're going to definitely find things once you live in there, because the reality is, no matter how good the inspector is, no matter how good your realtor is, no matter how OCD you might be, there are going to be things that you miss. For example, when we built our house with Pulte, we did the custom built-in fridge. We had also added a loft. So what happened is, when they added the loft, they had to put a third support beam in the wall, and it happened to be the wall that the fridge was sitting on. We didn't notice at the time when we did our walkthrough that our freezer, because of that extra beam, actually did not open all the way. So we moved in. My husband bought a big old giant box of waffles for my teenage kids and couldn't even get the freezer door open enough to get the waffle box in there. So stuff happens. Listen, Pulte was great. They took care of it. It was kind of a big fix, but it was the first time they'd built that house with that loft and that, media room above it that caused that extra beam. So sometimes stuff happens, and that's okay. That's why they've got warranty processes, and they've got ways to submit tickets and get people in your house to get everything fixed and in tip-top shape. All right. What questions do you have about buying or building new construction or anything else moving here in Southwest Florida? Our team has a ton of experience with resale and new construction, and we would love to be a resource for you and help you. So if you are interested, you can set up a time using the Calendly link below. We can talk about what are your plans, what questions you have. You can also just write questions below, and we'll be happy to answer them and respond back to you. You can find us on social media, or you can always contact us directly at 239-776-6872 because we want to help you live joy too.